Hey there, it's Mr. Tush over at Global, and today we're going to talk about CSS, or Cascading Style Sheets. So what is CSS? Well, CSS is a language, and it's a language that describes how your HTML is to be displayed on the page. The CSS determines a lot of things about your page, like font sizes and colors and the alignment of objects. Essentially, it becomes a set of rules for your entire website, so you can change formatting in one place and that'll be applied everywhere in the rest of your website. Well, to begin, you're going to open up a new file in your text editor, and that new document you're going to call style.css. Make sure you use the File Save menu, don't use the top bar, and save it in your website folder right next to all your other pages. So the next thing you're going to want to do is set up your development environment. So you're going to want to open your browser window, and you're going to want in your browser window to open up one of your pages, probably your home page, index.html, and you set them up side by side. But then that new document you created in text editor, style.css, you're going to want to open up next to that. So you've got three things open. You've got your browser, your home page in HTML form, and your style sheet. So let's take one more look at how we're doing this. We've got our text edit page, our index page open here, and I've opened it in my browser. And what I want to do is I want to add my style sheet. So I'm going to go over here to text edit. You see text edit is open. And I'm going to go up to file. I'm going to click new. And when I do, I'm going to get a blank page. I'm going to put it down here. And I am not going to try to save it by clicking here. Don't do that. I'm going to go up to here, and I'm going to click save. When I do, I'm going to be open to my website, and I'm going to call this style.css. Once I do, it should go in as style.css, and should have this funky little icon next to it, and I know I've done it correctly. So that's the next thing you're going to do. So before we go any further, let's take a minute and talk about syntax and how it is we write proper CSS code. So the first thing you're going to pick is the selector. In this case, we're going to select the H1 tag. And then we're going to put in a couple of curly braces. Think of these like punctuation in a sentence, like periods and commas. This just tells the CSS what's in here is the stuff I want. Now, in between those curly braces, I'm going to put in the values and the properties that I want. So property of color, for text color, I can set to blue. And then I can go ahead and set the font size to 36 points. And what this does is it establishes a new rule throughout the site. And it says that every time I have an H1 tag, make it a blue 36 pixel font. Oh, and there's one more thing you should know. Each one of these rules you put in place is called a declaration. So color blue is one declaration, and font size 36 points, another declaration. Those are declarations related to the H1 tag. Now, when you're writing these on your CSS, on your style sheet, you're going to want to write them in a conventional way. Usually you put your selector and the first brace on its own line. Then you're going to skip a line, and underneath it, you're going to put your declarations, as many as you have. And then on its own line underneath them all, you're going to put the closing curly brace. And this is the declarations for H1 tags. The next logical question is, why are we doing it that way? Well, the answer is because if there's something you're going to change in your website a lot, it's your CSS codes. So if you write them in a conventional way, it's easier to find which selectors you're changing and edit them very quickly and see what changes you've made as you move through the site. So here we are back in the development environment, and we're going to edit this style page to change this particular H1 tag. You see I have it up here, welcome to my web page. Change my H1 tag to change the color a little bit and change the size a little bit. So let's put in my selector. And the selector is H1, and I'll open up my curly brace. And then I'm going to return. I'm going to indent one so it's easier to read. And I'm going to change the color to blue, and that's a semicolon. I'll put in a second selector where I'll say font size, and I'll ask for a 36 point pixel font size, semicolon, and then I will put in my closing curly brace. I will save it. I will refresh the page, and absolutely nothing happened. Well, I actually knew that was going to happen. What I have to do next is I have to go over to my index page, and I have to tell the index page, hey, you have a rule sheet to follow. You have to go follow your style sheet. And the next thing we're going to take a look at is how to tell your pages to pay attention to the style sheet. See, what we've done so far is we've set up a style sheet that we intend to become the sheriff for the rest of the website. However, the rest of my pages are out there and nobody told them that there is a new sheriff in town. So we've got to go in and help unconfuse the rest of our pages. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to open each one of the pages in our website. We're going to add a little line of code to the top that says, from now on, go look to the sheriff to find out how you're supposed to display the information on your page. So long as that code is in place, every page will obey what we put on the style sheet. Well, how are we going to do that? First, we're going to go up and look at the top of each page in between the head tags. We're going to open up a new tag and call it link. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to add the term rel equals quote style sheet quote. And what we're doing is we're telling the web page you have a relationship with this style sheet. The next line says type equals quote text slash CSS close quote, and that tells the web page go look for a text file that is a CSS sheet. Next, and do not worry if it wraps around to the next line, you're going to add href equals quote style.css, which is what you called your style sheet, and you're going to close the quote. That looks just like a hyperlink that we already practiced before, and that's because it is. You're telling it this is where the style sheet is. Go look for it. Then finally, I'm going to add a closing bracket so I'm certain that the tag works properly. Now, next, you're going to want to test this to be sure it works, and then copy paste it to every header on every page on your entire site. So here we are back in the development environment, and we're going to see how this styling thing works. I'm going to establish the relationship with the other pages. So here I am at my home page, and I've got my black text here, and it is not blue, and I don't know if it's 36 point or not, but I'm going to bet it probably isn't. So I'm going to go up here into my header, and I've already got a title in there because you see I put that page in. Well, I'm just going to change it and add a little more information. I'm going to return it, put in link space rel equals quote style sheet, just like we practiced, space type equals text slash CSS, close the quote, and then href equals, and I called it style.css, so I'm going to put in style.css, and oh, yep, caught a little mistake there. We're going to change that to an equal sign, and that's how that's supposed to work. I'm going to close that quote. I'm going to save it. Now, if I did this correctly, this should change at least to blue, and I might see a size change. So let's try it out. There it is. It's blue. Got a little bigger, but I actually want to see it a lot bigger. So I'm going to go over to my style sheet, which is easy to find, and change this to 48. Save it, and boom, there it is. Now, what happens if I go to my list of favorite teams? Well, the favorite teams, that's not working particularly well here because this page right here, again, has not been told that it's in a relationship. So I'm going to open up my favorites page in the text editor. I'm just going to pull that open right here. And you'll see there it is. And I'm just going to take this information right in here, and I'm just going to copy it. Right over here, edit, copy, go up to the header, add a line, put it right there, and paste. Save it. Refresh the page. Boom, there it is. And that is now you'll look as I go back and forth between them, it's giving me that same consistent size. You know, I want to change something here in the H2, and I want that secondary size to be the same blue, but that's the one I'm going to want to go to 18. So I'm going to be exactly halfway as big. So I'm going to go in, I'm going to put in a selector for H2, and I'm going to open up the curly brace. And then I'm going to skip my line. I'm going to say color blue. And this time I'm going to say font size colon, let's go to 24 pixels. It's going to be about half the size. And then I'm going to put in my closing curly brace. I'm going to save it. I don't have to do any more. And every single page of my site, this H2 tag should change. Here we go. Does it change? Yes, it does, and that's 18 points. If I skip over, oh, I've got it right here at the bottom of my page. Other cool links, that's an H2. And if you look, that's supposed to be an H2. And as long as I put it in the selector, I can change whatever I'd like. Finally, let's take a look at the power of CSS to make other subtle changes inside the structure of the website so it looks consistent throughout the different pages. And you may have 10, 15, 20 pages in your website when you're done. You want them all to look uniform. Right now, I don't particularly like this table. I like the contents of the table, but these titles, they're floating and they're not really lined up, and it doesn't make a lot of visual sense. So I can actually change it. Well, I know that the team colors and team logo, are all the table headers. So I'm going to put in another selector for TH because that's what I can do with CSS. I'm going to change the TH tag rules. And I'm going to put in TH in a curly brace. I'm going to skip a line. And I'm going to actually go in and I'm going to change the text alignment, align, colon. I'm going to change it to left. Line needs to be spelled correctly. And I'm going to put a semicolon after that. And so I'm going to tell it, move it over to the left and close my curly brace, save it. If I do this right, that's good. I do like that they're lined up a lot better. I don't like the size. So I'm going to go in back to this and look, I'm just going to add one line underneath it. And I'm going to tell it to change the font size. So type in font dash size, colon, and I'm going to want it to be 18 pixels, sorry. And so save it and then reload the page. There it is, just a little bit bigger, it pops just a little bit more. And you know, now that I'm going back and forth between them, I'm also seeing that I get the big blue and then the little blue, and I want to offset this H2 tag a little bit. It'd be kind of cool if it was a different color. So I'll go into my H2 and I'll just change this to orange and save it. That's all I have to change. And now, look what happens. I'll go back to home, and there it is. I go back to my favorite teams, and there it is. Now this H2 tag is going to orange. I can go back and forth between it and make the changes right here in style. And if I like the style changes I make here, it goes everywhere in my site, so long as I've put in my code and told each page from now on, look to the style sheet because there's a new sheriff in town. So congratulations, you've created your very first external style sheet. Truth be told, most websites don't really need more than one style sheet because you can make them as long as they need to be, as long as they have all the rules that the different pages in your website need. And what will happen with your external style sheet is you'll be able to control the look of each page in one place so that your entire site has a consistent look and feel through every page, and the user experience is much more stable and much more engaging because they have a consistent professional look and feel throughout the site. Hope it was helpful. Good luck and thanks for watching.